issues stern warning ahead of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi governorship elections as INEC raises fresh alarm. Retired Justice Datijo laments ugly state of the Supreme Court, says Apex Courts registrar earns 66.7% higher than the CJN, demand merit in appointment of judges. And later on the show, Nigeria is set to vaccinate 7.7 million girls against the leading cause of cervical cancer, with the founder and CEO of Medical Cancer Foundation, Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bakudu, as our guests. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Emeka Madunagu will be joining us later on the show. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. We're bringing the show on a sad note with reports that the Ohinoyi of Ibira land, Dr. Abdurrahman Adu Ibrahim, is dead. The paramount ruler of Ibira land was said to have died in the early hours of Sunday at the age of 95. His remains will be buried today in Okene according to the Islamic rites. 95. For Nigeria standards, not too bad, 95.
Not bad at all.
At all.
Not bad at all. People really grew up to that.
Honestly, it's not a... He lived.
These days, life expectancy in our country hovers around 50 to 55.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible. People hardly live long these days. The social problems are too many. But back to Ohinoyi, he was privileged to interview him in 1997 in his palace. You know, he was constantly rejigging that palace, constantly.
Beautiful, I've been there once.
At the end of the day, it's rated as the most beautiful palace in Nigeria.
Yeah. Very big.
Because he spent years, even before he became king, he had been preparing that place, to be his palace, And the state government has built a new palace on the site of the old palace. Also very beautiful. The equipment, the furniture brought in from abroad. Beautiful palace. With the fountain, I went there when they were building.
Really?
Yes.
As in beside the old palace that's so beautiful.
The site of the old palace.
Yes.
The old palace was not really beautiful.
Okay.
This was a palace. This one was built by Ado Ibrahim for himself.
Okay.
So it was a reason that, okay, what if he dies? Who will move into... A new king will not inherit a palace purpose-built for himself by the Ohinoyi. So the old palace, the traditional palace, was what they demolished and then rebuilt. You need to see how beautiful that place is now. Things that were not there before, they put them, So, and it's now looking really expansive. The governor had to do that because boys were going there to smoke. After the death of Sani Omolori, the former Ohinoyi, the place was abandoned. So people were going there to smoke. Criminals, saw the place as a place to hibernate. So they had to demolish and then build the palace. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful now. So whoever becomes the next Ohinoyi will find a beautiful palace to inherit with the fountain, everything looking so beautiful now. Talking about Adogu Ibrahim, he made his mark as a successful businessman and a big corporate player and boardroom player because he was chairman of some of the biggest companies in Nigeria. So he was a fantastic boardroom player before he
became the king.
He was already rich, you know, and imagine somebody who got a BSc from the London School of Economics as far back as 1954.
Wow.
Yes, and then got a master's from Harvard Business School in 1959.
Wow.
These are people who had been rich for so long.
The foresight.
When I was living in Okene, when my dad was working there, around 1974 to 78. Yes, to 78. We used to, in fact, before he became king, they would say, that is Ado Ibrahim's house. You know? They would point at it.
Very prominent.
Yes, they would point at the house. At that time, we would say, we didn't know him, but his name was already very popular with the boys, that if he was not made king at that time, I wonder what would have happened. Because he was famous and he was generous. These small cars, similar in size to these taxis in Ilorin, in Ibadan.
What do they call them?
Mikra.
Mikra.
It was bigger than Mikra. It was bigger than Mikra.
Okay.
You know, I've forgotten Toyota something. He was sharing it to young boys at that time as a way of empowering them, and he got their support when he wanted to be king, and he achieved his aim of becoming king, you know, and to his joy and to the joy of his family. The family produced Ohinoyi of Iberia-land, and was clearly one of the most charismatic traditional rulers of his generation. You cannot talk about the big traditional rulers in Nigeria without mentioning Ohinoyi of Iberia-land, and his tentacles, his influence spread beyond Kogi State and even Nigeria. So we wish that God will grant him Al-Jannah Firdaus.
And reach out to the whole entire Kogi State. It's a big lot.
Beginning with the governor.
States to the governor.
He's the chief mourner. We have to...
I think it's from that part of the state.
Yes, from Okene, from Agaza, Okene local government. So we commiserate with the governor and the good people of Iberia-land and Kogi State for this on this occasion. And we pray that they will be able to find a worthy successor to the throne.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. There's still much ado about the deaths of Nigerian singer Ileriolu Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. A joint committee of the House of Representatives has invited controversial musician Azeez Fashola, popularly known as Naira Marley, as part of moves to secure proper compensation and royalties for the late Mohbad. In a letter, the committee, comprising the committees on youth, justice, and legislative compliance, asked Naira Marley and the legal team of the late singer to appear before it on the 21st, that's Tuesday, 31st of October. Meanwhile, it has been reported that Naira Marley declined the invitation, with his counsel saying he is detained by the police following a court order. Judy, let's take it step by step. Immediately, Ileriolu died. His music was played internationally across the world, and it peaked to first top 10. Yes. Most of the prominent outlets, and a lot of people were doing the calculation that look, even after death, that this guy, his wealth and everything might have to be in billions, and if he's not properly taken care of, if the family, if they don't actually go after this royalty, as this House of Representatives is trying to point out, that it's going to be a very big loss to that family.
Yes, let's start with the fact that the lawmakers had to make this invitation so that they can have an idea of what will happen to all of the money that is making. We'll go to what he's making at this time. But some people have said, oh, the National Assembly, they have no work to do this and that. I think it's silly to say they don't. They represent us.
Yes.
There are things that they could easily say, okay, we are not interested in. We are not going to talk about that will make the rest of us to suffer. For example, when the former Customs Controller General took the decision to start stopping just any vehicle they see on the road and ask for even vehicles that they bought 15 years ago.
Yes. Go to the markets, go to car lots.
People, they had to stop them that no, you cannot do that. You can't stop a vehicle bought 15 years ago and insist that they must pay duty. Things will have changed. Even the currency rate and all that will have changed. And then you want to decide that, okay, they must pay duty at this time. No. If you couldn't get them to pay at that time, that's your own inefficiency. So in this case, they are human beings. They can see that in debt, this boy has become extremely famous and is making so much money. So they just decided, okay, what will happen? We need to look at the agreement. We need to find a way to make the family be able to benefit even upon the death of Mohbad. So, and many of the people said, look, that it makes sense to invite Mohbad and all that, but it's true that Mohbad is in detention. The judge said he should be put in detention for 21 days. You know, so until he's out of detention, he cannot honor this invitation extended to him by the House of Representatives. But let's look at how Mohbad is doing at this time. He is the most streamed artist currently with 2.3 million views. He secured a record 6 songs on Turntable's top 100 chart. You can imagine for one artist to even have one of his songs in the top 100 of Turntable is a remarkable achievement. But 6 of his songs are currently in the top 100. 6. And then the singer's catalog of songs collected 8.02 million on-demand streams. 8.2 million on-demand stream. Today, he is the 46th best-selling digital artist in the world. And he has already surpassed superstars like Nicki Minaj, Eminem, 21 Savage, Lady Gaga, Chris Brown, and other music heavyweights, with the performance of his songs like Peace, Feel Good, Ask About Me. They are rated #1 on Spotify Nigeria and are topping across streaming platforms like Shazam, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Music. So, talking about the Turntable charts, the report says Mohbad songs have logged streams that increased by 702% upon his death.
Wow.
Yes. Then Peace also recorded 837,000 on-demand streams. Just Peace alone. I still have my peace.
No. Yeah.
Then he's also recorded a mind-blowing 1,378% surge from the 57,000 that he had before his death. You know, from 57%, he saw it to 837,000.
Wow.
So that 837,000 is what accounts for 1,378%. Then his song Pariwo with 707,000 on demand streams is up by 588% from 103,000. So he moved from 103,000. It multiplied by 588%. That's to tell you the rate at which people are demanding for him now. Sabi amassed 608,000 on demand streams a striking 937% from percent jump from 57%. So he moved from just 57,000 to 608,000 on-demand streams after his death. This guy is a monster in debt in terms of the way people are looking for his music, people are appreciating his music. You know, he's a monster in debt, and it is money that we are talking about here. Somebody who can...
To protect his legacy.
Yes, somebody who can get to the top of Billboard charts, overtaking people like Nicki Minaj and the rest of them. Yes, it's not easy. And the question to ask is, what kind of contract did he sign? How can the family benefit now in the aftermath of his death?
To make sure they are not shortchanged.
Yes, that's what people are talking about, because this is his sweat. At the end of the day, he's gone. He has a father that he has left behind. He has a mother he left behind. He left a wife behind and a little boy. So how do they reap from the bountiful harvest that his songs are making now in the aftermath of his death? Not all of these songs were actually recorded under
when it was
Naira Marley's
label.
Some were songs that he did later. But whether some of the songs doing well were under Naira Marley or they were not under Naira Marley's label, there had to be some measure of reward for the money coming in. For the money coming in.
Because that label will make a lot of money.
2.3 million.
Those one that was...
Yes, we need to find out what kind of contract did he even sign
with that individual.
What does the contract afford him? What are the terms?
I think the investigation of the rep should...
It will be able to yield that. And then after he died, what did he sign any other contract with any label? Where will these monies go? These monies coming in, where will they go? It's $1 million question. Any artist in the world who is making this kind of money now, you will be tempted to say, this person can never be broke again. Or he's broken barriers with these charts, with these achievements, broken barriers. And to move from to record 1,378% surge, 1,378% surge in live streams is remarkable. It's remarkable. Somebody who had just 57,000 going to 837,000. That's to tell you how people really want to listen to him now. And many of us we did not know some of his songs back then. We did not really
at all.
Today we sing
right now.
Today we sing his songs and we see plenty of message in it. You know, that will suggest to this person actually
brilliant.
Yes, that
he was singing with his life experience.
He was singing like somebody anointed who could see the future. Singing like an anointed singer. No, he really was a gifted artist. And we just pray this boy doesn't die in vain. Okay,
I have a caller from Abuja. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello?
Kazim, go ahead, please.
Yes. Okay, we're talking about Mohbad's death that is being discussed by House of Rest. That is discussed in House of Rest. Okay. As we can see, having the discussion in House of Rest is very, very quite important, right? Because Mohbad is a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and his music after his death is actually gone globally aftermath of his death. However, when we are talking about Naira Marley and its counterpart in time of the death of Mohbad, the report coming from the police right now, we are trying to look at it. Okay, if this report had come out and said, hey, the death of Naira Marley not the cause of Mohbad, can we actually take, is it going to affect our emotions? Can we take what the police report is going to come out after this judgment from after Naira Marley has actually been judged?
Okay, Kazim,
right now,
what you are basically saying here is different from what you are saying. Because what we are saying now is that we are not looking at who killed Mohbad or how Mohbad died. What we are looking at here is that what he made as an artist, that investment, it's a huge estate.
It's making money.
It's making money now.
Making money.
So how is that money going to go to his family?
That's their concern.
That's the concern. House of Rep, we still allow the police to unravel the circumstances behind his demise. Do you understand, Kazim? So we are not accusing anybody, not even Naira Marley. We are talking about Naira Marley being the
because he was the one who signed him.
The record label, yes, the owner of the record label, yes.
They are just after, okay, what kind of contract did he sign? Can the family benefit now that this boy is one of the highest selling digital artists in the world?
It's rare, and this record that has been broken.
Yes.
It's rare.
So they are just concerned about the future. Because you can't have an artist making all this money and then the family will live in penury, the family will have nothing to feed on. That has to be addressed. I think that is the point that they are trying.
I'm sure if they are going to even rebury him eventually, it's going to be given
a befitting burial. And that's why people like Yabo Ojo and Co are going to look for casket, to buy casket and all that. How do you go and bury him one back community in
Ikorodu?
You know?
That people were going there at the expense of their security.
Yes, you can't go bury him there. So once they put closure to his matter, they are going to give him a befitting burial, a burial that a hero deserves, because he has put Nigeria on the global music chart global music map with the way his songs are on demand currently. That's the issue.
All right. Okay, moving on now. Nigeria's transition from petrol to compressed natural gas, CNG, powered buses is on. The federal government has launched the CNG initiative with the handing over of 2 CNG-fueled buses to the management of the State House, Abuja. The chairman of the committee, Zach Adedeji, said establishment of the CNG conversion centers demonstrates President Bola Tinubu's determination to lead the country's energy revolution. Jide, this is what we've been talking about. We've been talking about, this thing should materialize, so we should see it, and the buses should start coming, and the centers that they are going to be refueling should be, designated across the country. So this is a big step now.
Yes, this is a big step, and they have acquired 70 luxury buses in now, and 40 small buses. 40 small buses. So right now, they are expecting new buses, 1,500 of them in the short term, and 3,000 buses in the medium term. 10,000 tricycles will also come in, and by the end of the year, 3,000 more buses will join them. You know that the labor has been on their neck that, look, you have to do something quickly to ease the pain, because when you look at what's going on, the compressed natural gas,
CNG,
the price is about 280
cheaper,
280 naira per liter. That is compared with compared with 600 plus that the PMS is sold at this time. So it makes sense to ease the pains of our people by getting something that is way cheaper, and the compressed natural gas is way cheaper at this time. So what they are doing now, they are already in partnership with the NURTW and NATO with the intention of helping them, because they have acquired about 3,000 conversion kits in the first instance. So they are helping them to convert to CNG, but they will still retain the engine.
Okay.
They'll
be using fuel engine.
Yes.
And
they will still be using
the compressed
PMS, so that in case you get to a place where there is no
CNG to refuel,
you will then use your.
Since we don't have the centers circulated across the country right now,
they are going to build them. They
take time.
At this event, they signed a deal to deliver those workshops where the conversion will be done. And you can see the government has decided, okay, there will be no waivers, no import. I mean, there will be import waivers on these buses. You bring in these buses.
Make it cheaper.
Make them cheaper and accessible for our people. So, in 60 days' time, they will be able to bring in a lot more of these vehicles and a lot more conversion kits. What they are saying is that they are building those buses for us now. You know, it's just like you can't just, they don't sell these things like on the shelf. You have to order, and then they will make them.
To take time.
So in like 6 months, Nigeria will have a lot of these buses that the government has asked for. And we are talking about 3,000 buses over the course of 1 year, and 10,000 tricycles as well. So the NURTW have complained that at this stage, the conversion kits are expensive for them. So government has made up its minds to reduce the price of the conversion kits so that people can, on their own, private people can acquire them and then do these conversions by themselves. The way it is now, within the next 60 days, on their website, you can log in and discover the conversion workshop closest to you. You can then go there, drive in. They will give you, through the online platform, they will be able to give you, schedule you for the conversion. So when you log in, you schedule for conversion, you then go to the nearest conversion workshop closest to you, and that conversion will go. What we want to see is for government to ramp this up. If I don't want to buy expensive petrol, since there is alternative, and that alternative is compressed natural gas, we have to go ahead and try to get what we can afford. You know, so they are working with NURTW, because the NURTW, they have
guys that on the daily basis in terms of transport,
the ones who
move, transport workers,
much more people.
Yes, across the country.
So if they get their buy-in, they will also expect that transport costs will go down. Because what are we talking about? Going to petrol engines are the ones that make you go to what's it called?
Yes, sir. You might have noticed now, even most retail marketers, not the major marketers now, they sell for 610.
Yes.
Across Lagos now. They just adjusted.
Higher,
yes.
It's higher everywhere. It's
just
higher
adjusted.
Elsewhere. It's higher elsewhere. But once this comes, at least the Nigerians have options.
It's almost unbearable now.
It is. Traffic is light even on the highway these days. You know. So, but we expect that this won't continue for too long. By the time we bring in enough of this CNG fired buses, fired engines, and we get more and more of our people to find it easier to convert. Definitely, things will improve, and that is what we want to see. We want to see the pain on our people eased significantly.
Okay, we have Asemota calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Asemota.
Not there anymore.
Okay. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be right back after this time out.
Politics is defined as getting what, where, when, and how. But in the mix, many things come to play to shape the political fortune of any country.
Honorable Minister, that's how you misinform the public.
From the political actors to the electorate, campaign to voting, from debates to policy decisions, big events happen to engage us in constant conversation.
That's what we're looking for. Not some people who are talking about ethnicity. No.
Who is on your mind?
Don't worry.
Join me every day on Politics Tonight, where we dissect issues that shape our political destiny. Politics Tonight, weekdays on TVC News.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I am sure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Business lives on the fast track of numbers. Business is a strange world where low numbers mean something different. And its currency are speed and time. Finding the open doors of Main Street is not just good business, it's the start of the business. Join us every weekend on Business Week.
Maya Angelou was a civil rights activist, poet, and award-winning author known for her acclaimed 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and her numerous poetry and essay collections. Angelou was born on April 4, 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri. Angelou had a difficult childhood. Her parents split up when she was very young. Around the 1960s, Angelou lived in Ghana working as an editor and a freelance writer. Angelou also held a position at the University of Ghana for a time before she joined a community of revolutionist returnees exploring Pan-Africanism and became close with human rights activist and black nationalist leader Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. In 1961, Angelou appeared in an off-Broadway production of Jean Genet's The Blacks with James L. Jones, Lou Gossett Jr. and Cicely Tyson, and went on to earn a Tony Award nomination for her role in the play Look Away in 1973 and an Emmy Award nomination for her work on the television miniseries Roots 1977, among other honors. Angelou's career has seen numerous accolades, including the Chicago International Film Festival's 1998 Audience Choice Award and a nod from the Acapulco Black Film Festival in 19...
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's Journalist Hangout on Sunday. It's hard to say whether the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, is jumping from fry pan to fire or from fire to the fry pan. Now, regarding his ordeal with security agencies, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, detained the embattled Emefiele hours after regaining freedom from Department of State Services, DSS. Emefiele is reportedly undergoing interrogation at the headquarters of the EFCC in Abuja after he was picked up by operatives on Thursday night. Julie, I think Emefiele is in trouble. Emeka Madunagu is joining us now.
Yeah, I think it's very wrong. They are subjecting him to double jeopardy. And the law speaks against double jeopardy. The matter has been taken to court. Some courts have, granted him bail. They've pronounced on the matter. You are holding him after over 100 days. You are now referring to another agency. I mean, you cannot.
I think whatever DSS left him.
DSS, but you release Bauer. Because even you can't hold somebody beyond statutory. You can't hold somebody beyond 48 hours.
We don't know, maybe they are
without charging them to court. You've not charged them. No, you see, you cannot trample on citizens' rights like that. Even the judge pronounced on it. It's very wrong. Having held the man for over 100 days, even after a court has granted him bail, you should have let him go. Then he can be coming from home. What are you holding him for? Are they not bailable offenses? Are the things not bailable offenses that you hold him on? Even for people undergoing trial for some cases, you still grant them bail, so that you ask them to produce 2 shorties, so and so. So those shorties will ensure that anytime he's needed, he's produced. This one is a clear witch hunt. It's nothing more than that. The man should be released immediately. Release him to his family. Let him go and sort himself out. Then charge him to court. Whenever the court needs him, his shorties will produce him. But holding him for so long, I don't see what it is that they are holding him for. What do they intend to achieve? What do they intend to achieve? You are breaching somebody's rights, and you are saying, no. We shouldn't. Certain things should be beyond us. This is a democracy.
Do you see this as a witch hunt, as alleged by Emeka?
I don't see it as a witch hunt. I see it as desperation. They are desperate to get some things out of him. And they believe that the longer they keep him with them, the greater their chances of success. So that is the thing. If you look at what we have gone through, especially the depletion of our foreign reserves, there are questions that people must answer. And Emefiele is key among those who must answer questions, because that was put firmly in his care. These are unorthodox means of making, achieving an aim. Yes, it's unlawful to detain someone indefinitely, but I see what is happening more as desperate moves being made to cause him to provide more information. That is the way I see it. And sometimes, when people are granted bail, it enables them to tamper with evidence and all that.
Reach out to people.
In this case, the DSS was ordered by the presidency to release him to the EFCC. It was a presidential order. Release him to the EFCC. Perhaps the EFCC now have some information that they didn't have before. So they're asking him questions. Ultimately, they will charge him to court. The other matter is still there, the matter for which the Emefiele's camp asked for plea bargain. Part of the decision was that, okay, he should first resign his position. He has done that already. The president has the power to suspend, but he does not have the power to fire a CBN governor.
Yes.
It's only the National Assembly that can take that decision. But as the Emefiele camp asked for plea bargain, because what they charge him for, there is no option of bail. It's 5 years in jail. He already sees that. And when you look, if you read the story involving the woman who procured vehicles for the CBN, vehicles that eventually ended up for campaigns. It's like they have a vice-like grip on him. The Emefiele can't move quickly and said they wanted negotiation, a plea bargain. You know, so part of the demands that the government made was that resign your position as CBN governor. You understand? It was shortly after Yemi Cardoso was announced as substantive CBN governor. The CBN went ahead to announce that Emefiele has officially resigned. So after that, you cannot say that somebody infringed on the law by kicking him out, because you have no power to do that.
He resigned voluntarily.
He resigned voluntarily as part of
negotiation
leading to the plea bargain. So that plea bargain, that matter is still there. In fact, what someone told me was that they are so confident that even one of the persons originally charged could end up being a prosecution witness against him. So that one is a particularly bad case. You know, you awarded a contract to a CBN staff. You can't do that. You can't do that. So I know that there are still so many things, especially now when we are facing serious liquidity, forex, serious problem of illiquidity in the forex market. There are questions that Emefiele and co must answer. For example, you didn't tell us that foreign donor, foreign agencies like Goldman Sachs, like JP Morgan, that we were owing them. Nobody, no Nigerian was told this. Even when they talk about the debt that our country was owing, which they told us stood at 77 trillion naira. Nobody mentioned those ones, only for us to discover in just one day, after the probe of CBN began, that we actually, all of the $33 billion dollars they told us we had, it was lies. It took JP Morgan to tell you don't have that kind of money in the foreign reserve. I mean, where in the world do they collateralize loans with foreign reserve? Tell me. Where? So there are questions, and all of us are suffering. It is best for us to identify those who collected forex and did not even use the funds. There are many people who collected forex, they didn't use the fund. We need to know them. They must be punished. The same way we are happy that we didn't lose the matter P&ID. But Nigerians connive with these people. Are we going to leave them?
And the other case is still coming up.
Are we going to leave them? What will have happened if we lost that matter and we were forced to lose $11 billion? Are we going to survive as a country? Fraud. So things happen. I hope that in terms of mandate, perhaps the EFCC is the right agency to hold him at this time.
Yes.
But let's not also forget, I've seen cases where even the army handed over suspects to DSS and even vice versa. So within the agencies, security agencies, they do this. But my suspicion is that even the EFCC is the right, in terms of mandates, the right
agency
to detain Emefiele at this time. Hopefully something will come out of all this drama.
No, for me,
it's so obvious now that Mr. Emefiele will have to answer to some things that went down.
I am for him answering what himself.
He now said now.
Yes.
This might be, if he's freed now, it might tamper with something.
How will it tamper?
Now that they've offered for like plea bargaining, and Nigeria is at the threshold of, recovering some of those funds and everything, don't you think we should just hold on a little bit?
You see, for me, from day one, I asked the question, why did DSS arrest him? It's the wrong agency to arrest him. Then you now got to the point of charging him with owning a gun. I said, these people, some people want to just mess up this matter. We're talking about serious issues that affected the Nigerian economy, that affected Nigerians.
Don't forget that.
So, yes.
He has been taken to court before now. Yeah. Before the advent of Bola Tinubu administration, and he got an injunction.
No, there is a matter
injunction refraining the DSS
matter related to anti-terrorism, for which they wanted to charge him. He ran to court and secured an injunction.
Yeah.
But because the allegation was that he was funneling funds to some people related to terrorism and all that. But he ran to the court and got an injunction. The DSS has not been able to vacate that injunction till tomorrow.
I agree.
It's a woman, a female justice, that they've not been able to vacate it. Then the matter of, when they were now looking for what else, then the matter of the gun came up. And the truth is, by the nature of his job, is not supposed to have access to that caliber of weapon. He's not a soldier. He's not a police.
But look at the punishment. DSS couldn't have got anything substantial like
no, that's what you think.
Well,
I know.
According to
they are not going to come out and tell you.
Well,
there are some things that I, for example, know that many people don't know.
Well,
that we cannot discuss publicly.
Yes, but what I want
if you try it, nobody will give information again.
Yes, I know.
So, and it's not everything they even tell you that you come out in the public and say, oh, I'm aware. Maybe when we are discussing, I can say, Ayo, this is what I had. Or you can't. No, you cannot say they've not achieved anything.
No. I'm not following on that track. What I'm saying is this. So that we don't lose track of our serious issues. Because if you hold him interminably, now, how about the man who was the president when he was CBN governor? How about certain other people, Minister of Finance and all of that?
I'm as concerned as anybody about that.
All of this.
We didn't do all these things alone. Yes. That's why we talked about P&ID.
Yes.
That other Nigerians were, they worked with these people to defraud their country.
And look at the caliber of people involved in that P&ID.
Yes, we know that they have to. If
high
we
caliber.
not arrest them,
they are not the men on the street.
It will show to people that we are not serious. So we need to go after such people. I'm really for that. We need to go after such people. And Emefiele, if Emefiele will mention names, that will help his cause. It's not to just simply be in detention and be suffering for other people. Whatever you know, mention names. That, okay, these are the people that I gave this person this. Because we know that some people were given tons of dollars. They said they wanted to bring in stuff, and they didn't.
A former CBN governor said so. No.
We know
three of his friends got
under his watch
and nothing.
The way the CBN was bastardized. Now see what they have reduced us to. See what they have reduced us to. Who decided that we should, the money that we are owing Goldman Sachs and co, who decided that we should do that? And why did you lie to Nigerians that we had 33 billion in reserve? Now we can't even defend our currency with what we have left. We're in trouble.
All right, moving on now. The last is yet to be heard about the matter with the suspended resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State, that is Hudu Yunusa Ari. A federal high court in Abuja has struck out the suits filed by Aisha Binani Dahiru against prosecution of Yunusa Ari by the Independent National Electoral Commission. INEC Justice Donatus Okorowo ruled that the court lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter brought by Binani to restrain INEC from prosecuting Yunusa Ari. Do you understand this?
This is an abuse of court process. I think the court should. Things like this need to be. The law needs to come down hard on things like this, because this woman is showing that she has more than a passing interest in this matter. I mean, there is an issue on ground, issue bordering on alleged illegality, which was broadcast, which everybody saw, and then you are now intervening as what? As a friend of the INEC, as the REC, or as what? I don't understand. The man was a referee, so in a match, if the football governing authorities say the referee didn't act appropriately, then one player will go to court to stop them. I wonder how that will sit. And I think some lawyers in Nigeria really play on the intelligence of their client, because why would a lawyer tell somebody that such a case can pass through judicial scrutiny? Was it? I mean, I don't even understand what they got up to achieve. It's an exercise in futility.
You know, from day one, this has not been a very clean, a very clean exercise. The Adamawa election, and after the role that the resident electoral commission played, this and that man happened to be a lawyer. You know, happened to be a lawyer and understand the law. But at the end of the day, he did what he did. But the national headquarters of INEC, they actually denied him. Disowned him. He was disowned.
Let's focus on what Binani is trying to do. Let's even leave INEC.
No, I'm just giving a background to what happened and how they got here.
I will explain how we got there. Binani, the reason Binani went to court to stop them from arraigning him, prosecuting him, because Binani already listed him as her prime witness. You know, if you put someone on trial now, probably detained, you know that person will not be in position to go and testify in her favor. So her case is built around what this person intends to say and what the returning officer in one of those wards where she claimed that her votes were stolen. She had 3 witnesses. This man, her DG, and the returning officer of that ward, you know, close to Yola, where she claimed that her votes were stolen. So the returning officer will now say, oh, it was under duress that I was made to do this. You know the way they do this. Then Yunusa Ari, who already is in the eye of the storm, would say that everything that she did was right and that it was Binani that won. So Binani pinned her hopes entirely on Yunusa Ari. So she felt that, oh, if Yunusa Ari is taken away, charged and put on trial, he will not be able to come and defend her. That is her primary reason for doing this. Unfortunately for her, a man already suspended by the INEC. In what capacity will he come and defend you? So when we blame lawyers, these lawyers sometimes are out to scam or mislead their clients. The client too must also behave like someone who has common sense. Because how is he, in what capacity is no longer the wreck? In what capacity is he coming to defend you? So this is her own game plan that she thinks that her game plan has been torn into shreds by the decision to put this man on trial. And the court wisely said, well, no court in the land has the power, no individual has the power to stop the prosecution of someone. You can't come up and go to a court and say, please, make sure that this person is not put on trial. No court has no individual has that kind of power. That is what the court said. Because what the power that you even want this court to exercise, the court was not going to exercise, and that's why the court said, oh, this is way above our brief. We cannot do this. You can't stop them from putting Yunusa Ari on trial. You have not got that power. That is the message that the court sent across to her. And you know, she lost Friday. She lost to the governor in the tribunal. Their own case was decided late because of all the delays we had before that matter was finally resolved. Because other governors have had their own since last week, you know. Last week, 2 weeks.
Since the other years.
So right now, they will be back at appeal court. And I'm sure Binani will still be confident that she's going to take this thing from the governor. She's always been confident. But with the man that she pinned our hopes on being put on trial, you can see that one leg out of the tripod of witnesses that he intends to bring, one leg is already crooked.
Now, in recruiting resident electoral commissioners, I think INEC should be more circumspect because
it's not INEC, it's the government, it's the president that
appointed that kind of individual that could act brazenly.
Well, you see, on the unfortunate thing is that sometimes public officials are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, especially when they have to deal with politicians, because Nigerian politicians can go to any extent to compromise public officials, And we've seen different cases. Some officials of INEC, don't forget, some officials of INEC have been jailed for alleged, on different allegations. So I think it's really unfortunate that Yunus Hari found himself in this kind of position. But it also says a lot about the rule of law in Nigeria. And I think that matter is not just about his being suspended. The state should pursue that matter to a logical conclusion so that it doesn't encourage others.
It's not even sober. You still believe
that is it.
Was right.
Otherwise, in future, somebody might just find a loophole and make a mess of the entire electoral system. So the state must pursue that matter to its logical conclusion.
All right. With apprehension and mounting security concerns, Nigeria moves closer to the next round of off-season elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states on the 11th of November. The federal government and top military officials have issued a strong warning to potential troublemakers bent in disrupting the electoral process. The National Security Advisor, Nuri Badu, conveyed this warning during a meeting with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. Meanwhile, INEC has raised fresh alarm over the challenges of difficult terrain and insecurity compounded by negative mobilization of political actors for the elections. INEC is going to be faced with difficult terrain. A state like Bayelsa, waterlogged, and to get they had to cross some areas to get materials into that area. And a state like Kogi State, from one local government to another local government, could cost 3-4 hours before you get access, different parts of the local government to get materials and make sure that those people are not disenfranchised. It's a big deal today.
Yes, INEC is more concerned even about the security situation. Imo, for example, people are already predicting that the election could turn out to be a bloodbath. God forbid. We don't want to see that elections should be carnival-like in nature. People should be happy that, look, this is a day when we show our power, to put anybody that we want in government. When they become governors or whatever, they may not show respect to you again, but at least one day in 4 years, you're able to exercise that power, to elect the person of your choice. So it should be something that makes the voters happy, make the electorate happy. But a situation in which elections get turned to a warlike situation is not what we want to see, because we look at even countries around us. What we do to ourselves in the name of contesting elections, those countries don't do it. Many years ago, Nigeria was even helping some frontline nations, to put their foot on the ground politically. Some of their leaders were even here. Some of their leaders were here, staying in Nigeria. We took good care of them. Today, all those countries have overtaken us in many spheres of life. Politically, we are still crawling. The Nigerian politician, in my view, is to blame for the situation we find ourselves. People blame INEC and all that. If you say INEC is corrupt, who are the people who compromise INEC? It's still these politicians. If we say our elections are characterized by insecurity, who are the people behind this? It's still politicians who arm young boys and give them guns to use against one another. So the election in Kogi Bayelsa and Imo, we have to secure our people sufficiently. People should not be allowed to die because some politician somewhere wants to win by all means necessary. No. If you've truly worked for your people, you should not be afraid that you will lose an election. You should not be afraid. But if you've not worked for them, you force yourself on them, and you've not even delivered, then you'll be scared that, oh, these people, they will not vote for me. We can't have a situation in which people will force themselves on us whether we like it or not. We need electoral integrity to take hold in our country. We need elections that on the international scale we can put up and say, yes, we had this election, I'm proud of the way this election went. But as I always say, it is the politicians that we need to talk to. INEC, yes, INEC has to clean up his act. But the role the politicians, the role they play in compromising INEC, in forging INEC document from EC8 and others.
Remember those cases that took so long?
We cannot wish away what these politicians are doing. That's why I look at some politicians in our country and I'm like, do these people really have conscience? The extent they go. The extent they go to win an election.
Judgments.
Yes, they forge. They even forge withdrawal letters. Labour Party, they were forging people's withdrawal letters. People did not withdraw, just for them to be able to put in their own favored aspirants. Later, they too will be talking about forgery. You forged it, not even the case was in court. And the national chairman was suspended. No, they can't deny it. I keep saying it. I let anybody come and say they lied. It's there. You forged it. You are going around like a King Kong, but you forged. And the police preliminary investigation that they submitted to the court affirmed that they forged. What are we talking about? So why would you go to the extent of forging people? A candidate in Ebonyi, you forge his withdrawal letter, and the man said I did not withdraw. Is a forgery, can forgery be better than that? If we are even to grade forgery, the extent to which politicians go, they are the problem. They are the problem everywhere. They are the problem. And when you give people guns to go and kill one another, later on, those guys, after the election, you abandon them, they will use those guns to become armed robbers. They are our problem.
Now, Emeka, when you want to look like a state like Imo, that you have activities of separatist organizations, the IPOB, and the guy in the Finland, I saw even one show of us that the guy said they will make sure that no election is conducted in Imo State, and ahead of all this. So a lot of people are even afraid that the interior part not even aware itself that.
Oh, there's Osu and all those places.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that the security situation in Imo State has degenerated. So
that not discourage people from coming out.
In some areas, you don't even know who the criminals are, who are those behind some things, because there are certain places like between Obako and Ejimeku, around near Owerri, there is a particular place, there is a particular location where different identities, of kidnappers have been, raised concerning, the kidnapping of people at that place and in different areas. So I think it's not just for the military to come out and be warning politicians. We've heard all those warnings. We will hear that the military will deploy thousands of people, civil defense, police, and all that will deploy thousands of operatives. And at the end of the day, we still see these politicians and their thugs managing to get through these things. The point, what I prefer is work underground. And for the military to be threatening, to be warning politicians in a democracy, I don't agree with that. I think that should be the job of the police, being in charge of internal security, because the military cannot get close to polling units. So let them do their work underground, quietly. Pick all those elements, those whom they have confirmed that, yes, these ones are planning to disrupt the election, you can move quietly, dislodge them, and make sure that they cannot. Well, if there are those who have made threats, identify them and let the place be safe, so that you don't even have a problem of low voter turnout. Because that's even as bad as this violence. But nobody wants to go out to go and vote and get shot.
They are even saying that in Imo, for example, the INEC buildings that were destroyed, that nobody tried to repair them, they just left them like that.
Yeah, well, those things were really unfortunate, because even if you look at in Anambra, police stations that were raised down, philanthropists came, rebuilt them, and some people still came back and burned them down. So that forced different towns, to now set up their own vigilante outfits to say, okay, this is our territory. You cannot come here to be destroying buildings and all of that. Do you want to turn this place to a byline? Which is what has happened to some areas. People have fled those places. It cannot continue.
And elections will hold in those communities.
It's holding those communities. So let the security
places that are not safe
go to those places.
Can we truly hold elections in those? Because if I recall what happened when INEC conducted off-season election in, I think, Bakura in Zamfara, they listed a long list of wards that they said they would not go to. So because those places were bandits infested, so how do we then do elections in those places? If INEC on its own say, look, we are not going to this such place, I suspect that even in Imo there will be places that INEC would deem too insecure to go and to conduct elections.
No, but can they use?
There is the people who lose.
Can they use the formula they used in Anambra during the governorship election? There was a way they worked at the security. They walked around the security situation.
They had to move
because Anambra,
you were in Anambra State.
They had to move all the formation in the southwest and some neighboring states.
Because it was Anambra alone. Now you are going to have elections in three.
Well, out of 36.
And we state like Kogi that is.
But what I'm saying is that they can try something. Maybe if not totally what they did in Anambra, but something close to it. Because even people were surprised that I look at the turnout. And then...
Don't also forget that a few days to the election, some leaders in the southeast got IPOB to say, look, you can go and vote. Because they were saying before that there will be no election unless there was a referendum. But they got them to announce, I think 4 days to the election, to announce that, look, you can go and do your elections. We are not going to...
they can still do that. It's I think anything that will make... Because the turnout wasn't on 40% or something. Whatever will make this process...
If people are guaranteed of their security, they will come out. So I think that statement at that time... unfortunately, some of the people who made it happen are no more, like Amechi.
Yes, Amechi.
But we still have prominent and well-respected people in the southeast, like Eze Chukwemeka Eri from Enugu Aguleri. He was one of those who met
Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes, they went to meet him, along with this lawmaker who recently defected to APC. Ifeanyi Ubah. They went to meet him, and he said, look, at this point, nothing like sit at home anymore. He got that commitment from him. So they need to talk more, get more people, such people to maybe engage with these guys.
They should do that.
Once the people have assurance of peace, the turnout will be much better.
Okay, I have on the line Colonel Hassan. Thank you for joining us, sir.
No, it's not a colonel.
Okay, our friend Awal Hassan. Awal.
Ayo, how are you? How are you?
Go ahead, please.
How are you, Ayo? Good afternoon. Ayo, please, I'm contributing on Emefiele's issue. Sorry, I'm coming late.
Okay.
Ayo, I think with the way... Hello? Can you hear me, Ayo?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Awan.
With the way the guest Emeka, I think, is speaking, I think we should just forget about fighting corruption in this country. He is talking about democracy. If Emefiele can do a quarter of what he has done in Nigeria, in the US, he could have been facing a firing squad. There is no country that Apex governor, somebody heading the Apex Bank, will mess like Emefiele did to our CBN, and people are still saying he's not been treated fairly. He should save a firing squad. Somebody that printed 19.6 trillion naira unbudgeted, printed money and gave it out to people, corrupt people like him, cohorts of corruption. And we are now saying, in fact, TVC journalist Hangout, it took us almost 1 or 2 months speaking against his evil policy of Naira redesign during the campaign. People died. People took their wives or children to hospitals. They hadn't cash to pay, and those people died. What would you say about that? Why are you even saying DSS doesn't have the right? Oh, the president, Babajide was saying the president doesn't have the power to start. How can a president have the power to appoint, but he will not have power to start? We need to go to the Constitution and be reading about powers of the president. Who is Emefiele? Emefiele should save a firing squad. This guy has messed our country. In the 9 years he's been in CBN, there is no statement, there is no financial statement of the CBN. He bastardized our economy. That is the reason why we are where we are today with dollar 1,200 naira or 1,500 naira. It is because of the money, too much naira he gave people in their hands that is pursuing so little dollar. It is not the making of this government. Why would anybody come out to be defending people like Emefiele? I'm just so angry.
Thank you for your contribution.
I'm surprised.
And yes, we spoke about Emefiele. And moving on now, there is a rumble at the Temple of Justice in Nigeria, and all that is left for us to do is to run towards getting a resolution. Retired Supreme Court Justice Musa Datijo Mohammed has lamented the poor salary structure of justices in the country. According to him, the monthly salary of Apex Court Registrar stands at 1.2 million naira, while justices get 751,000 naira, representing a 34.4% disparity. He said the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola, is receiving 400,000 naira monthly salary, which is 66.7% less than the 1.2 million naira monthly take-home of the registrar. Jide, what is this about?
No, we talked about this.
Yes, the Court of Appeal.
Yes, we were discussing the Court of Appeal.
Extensively that day.
Part of what he said was that some people have been stagnated on the same salary for 15 years. And you don't want judges to take bribe.
You don't want them
to take bribe. They will take bribe. Let's not deceive ourselves.
That is true.
What is 400,000 naira?
They have families. They have everything.
You know, what is 400,000 naira to a man that old? Like, he will need to buy his drugs and all that.
Medical care outside.
You know, medical care, that one is a luxury. It's for those who can afford it. It's for the privileged few. But what we are even saying is, if you make our health system good enough, do people need to go? People go to Egypt, they go to Cameroon for Medicare. Is that bad for us? Is that bad? Is that bad? So, but I find this really ridiculous. In fact, if it wasn't Justice Datijo saying
spelling it out,
I would not have believed.
Yeah. You know, because he's taking his leave now.
Because the registrar is supposed to work under the CJN. Take directives on the CJN, and it's any higher than the CJN. How did it happen? It's just too many ridiculous things happening in our country.
I don't know. I think this has to do with the revenue guys' mobilization.
I don't know. You know, it was said before that even that some people in the Debt Management Office, CBN, NNPC,
NCC salary,
NCC,
they earn higher than the president.
Yes.
They earn higher than the president. They earn higher than the vice president. So how did we allow
come into that
to happen?
Calculation?
If we don't do something about the salaries of judges, then we should forget about trying to sanitize the judiciary. He was saying that litigants easily bribe court officials and judges to engineer delay or to obtain favorable judgments. This is already well known. It's not something. When you hear some of those orders, ridiculous orders that judges make, you know that it must have been influenced by money. And when you see some of the ridiculous cases filed by lawyers and they are allowed to go through, you know that court officials must have been bribed. But there is a lot that he talked about that we also need to mention here, that the powers of the CJN are enormous. He talked about the powers of the CJN.
Yeah.
But these powers
as the chairman
had been there. It's not Ariwola who gave himself those powers. When we recognize, okay, this is the truth that he's talking about, we have to do something about it. That one person will be given all of those powers.
It's the chairman of NJC.
Yes.
And NJC is, the biggest ruling body that can punish any judge. And
even you mentioned the NJI, National Judicial Institute as well. You know? So, and another thing that he said is the constitution of the Supreme Court itself. The North Central is not represented as we speak.
Right now.
The Southeast is not represented. When Justice Sylvester Anguta died, they should have replaced him quickly. They didn't replace him. C.C. Nweze, one of the best judges on the court, also died. You know, they also didn't replace. So right now the Southeast doesn't have any representative. Right now the North Central doesn't have any representative. Dati Joe is leaving the court. They are left with just 10 judges. So there is a need to fill the void created by these departures. He was saying that that it was deliberate to not replace those people. I don't know
kind of politics
until we speak with President Buhari, because these departures happened under his time. Why weren't they replaced? Because it's not Ariwola will simply go and grab judges and put them in the Supreme Court. No, that's not the structure. That's not how it's designed. So the current administration must take steps now, move quickly to bring in people. And we have the appeal court. They can bring in some of the best from the appeal court, get them into the system. Instead of these judges of the Supreme Court, they have so much work to do, and they are just down to 10. They are down to 10. Even the last panel, it was out of the 10 left that they had to. And people like Ogunmiju, Justice Ogunmiju, Kekere Ekun, they did not want to be part of the panel. So what if more people had said, no, I don't want to be part of this panel?
And you need 7.
And you need 7 out of 10.
At any given point.
So how would they have handled the situation? So there is a need to do something quickly. Cross River has 2. Justice Agim and Okoro GSC, who read the lead judgment.
Okoro.
Yes. So, but others that are not represented, they must fill the vacuum quickly.
Now, when we say, because that's the show, as he was exiting, he had to spill the bean. You know, in their temple, everybody's always mute and everything.
Yes,
they are not retiring.
Yes.
They are retiring now. I think it's now becoming like a tradition. So those things he mentioned, when you want to look back at the composition, the salaries and everything, I think it's not good for people that are deciding the emoluments to make sure to underpay the judges.
Yeah, but I think in his time, Buhari, that was one of the things he did about the independence of the judiciary. Was it Executive Order 10 or so, that he signed, in which the state governors countered. He said he couldn't dictate to them concerning the state judiciary. But at the federal level, there was this assurance that the judiciary at the federal, would now be independent and all that. But certain people have also talked about the fact that judges are overworked at different levels. They ought to have judicial aides who help them to research into cases. But they don't have these things. There are a lot of things that judges up to the Supreme Court are denied. Okay, you have a backlog, thousands of cases before the appeal court. When are they going to finish these cases? So litigants have to wait sometimes up to 20 years, 30 years for their cases to be decided at the appeal court. Yeah. I can give you some instances of some cases like that. So busy. But you now find out that somehow you're able to, okay, let me just briefly touch about this Emefiele we're talking about, because somebody was so angry as if I was the one that caused the situation. Was it not the same Emefiele that went to court and got an injunction? Is it not the same judiciary? So should the EFCC and the DSS now do the job of the judiciary? The point is no. So you must sit down. Stakeholders must sit down to say, what kind of judiciary do we want? Because Justice that you mentioned it. He said he joined the judiciary out of a love for the system. But that now that he's retiring is a different thing from what encouraged him to join. So if the right things are not in place, what do you expect to be done? You expect that people will not cry out. People will cry out. So the point is, let us face the issues that need to be reformed, that need to be dealt with. Issues that should be changed. Don't start attacking people because they come out to say the right thing should be done. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. The judiciary needs help. Judiciary needs help. If we're even talking about salaries, that means the executive order 10 was an effort in futility. Why haven't the recommendations not?
Because the governors are by nature selfish. They do not want autonomy for local governments.
Yes, and even
President did put all of those things together. They went to court and said, look, the court ruled that there was no need for that those things that I wanted to do through the executive order were already enshrined in the Constitution. So it was overruled through the courts. Now we are in a situation in which we tell ourselves that perhaps it would have been nice to let the president exercise that power, because sending their money through first line charge will have been the best thing, because governors continue to tamper with the funds of local governments. This is a fact. They don't like it when you say it, but that is the truth.
But that of course, that
is the truth. We've seen local government chairmen and governors fighting. One happened in State,
yes.
Where he said they tampered with their funds, and it has happened before. Some governors will suspend the local government chairman. Somebody was elected just like you. You just suspend him like that for quarreling with you.
And then now get the police to arrest him for circulating false information. So when we misuse public institutions, what do we expect? Don't forget that under the former CJN, remember some justices of the Supreme Court wrote a petition where they accused him of. So it will just. This is just a vicious cycle.
They complain about their welfare.
Yes, something needs to be done.
Some of that they should have access to, they don't have.
Because some of the sitting justices of the Supreme Court.
Somebody leaked it.
Will retire in a matter of 5 years. Within the next 5 years, they will retire. So what's going to happen? How are you going to encourage people at the lower rungs to also come up, gather the
there was something that this thing that they are talking about. Even appeal court is affected. And
yes,
appeal court is the biggest court in the country in terms of size and number of courts.
With thousands of cases.
Some people don't want to even get elevated to appeal court.
Yes, that's another problem.
When you are a judge serving in Lagos, serving in Rivers, the things that you are benefiting from in Rivers or Lagos, when you get to appeal court, you observe that it's not there. They told me that some of the judges don't even want to come.
No, but they also.
Or they believe they are going to.
They don't see like a promotion.
How many of our people, even in the South, want to go into the judicial service and to become judges? Many prefer to go into private practice as lawyers, and one day become SANs. So some of these things.
It's also easy for some of them to move from private practice to. There are some friends that I had that I used to ask them questions on lawyers. The last time I called one of them, he told me, I'm no longer barrister this, or I'm justice, so. I said, I didn't know that you had joined
the Federal Judicial Service, yes.
You know, one Ekiti lawyer like that is now a justice.
Yes, which is good. More. Lawyers should be encouraged to go into
even the NJC.
The judicial
we need lawyers to get into the NJC. I thought that that would even be done some years back, or recruit some lawyers, experienced lawyers.
Lawyers, yes.
People like the Agbakoba.
Encourage them,
around for long.
Yeah.
Get them into the Supreme Court. So it was suggested, and somebody told me that it could be done soon. You can imagine if we had very knowledgeable people, the Olane Pekuns of this world, the Latif Agbemis, the Akintolans. They can sit competently in the Supreme Court. After all the years that they practice as lawyers, they know law very well. So,
but they should also look at competence. Was it Niger State or so, where they were telling area judges to go and get degrees in law? I found that to be very shocking.
Even magistrates, even the customary court judges, many of them are not competent.
But they should not be. And these people decide some important cases.
All right, and finally on the show, cancer remains a major health burden in Nigeria. Hence, drastic and novel measures are required to fight it. Nigeria has officially incorporated the HPV into its routine immunization system with the aim of reaching a record of 7.7 million girls in a single round of vaccination, the largest exercise of its kind in Africa. Girls between the ages of 9 and 14 will receive a single dose of HPV, which has demonstrated remarkable efficiency in preventing infection with types 16 and 18, known to be about 70% responsible for cervical cancer cases. Judy, enlighten us more on this. The federal government is trying to...
I watched the program during the week, and I was really impressed at the rate at which we are working with our global partners as a country to ensure that we give vaccination to as many people as possible. You need to go to Luth and see how cancer is already affecting kids.
Ravaging people.
There is a word for kids afflicted by cancer. You burst into tears. And this thing, in terms of the pain that it inflicts, it's an ailment that you don't want to even wish your enemy. And I saw these children when I went for the documentary I did on Lut recently. I saw kids, 9 years, 11 years. Kids. Some less than 9. They are there. So, I don't know why these days more and more people are getting afflicted by cancer of different types.
Deadly diseases.
But one thing that is always suggested is that we try to detect early. Once your child or someone close to you is showing some signs, the best thing is to quickly take that person to the hospital where they can be tested, can be examined. Cancer can be defeated, especially at the early stage. We've seen people who are cancer survivors. The Governor Akredolu's wife, for example, is a cancer survivor. Today, she's doing her best fighting against the spread of cancer. She set up an NGO before she became First Lady. So let's do our best to conduct a test so that they can attack it at that early stage instead of self-medication or not even bothering ourselves.
When you carry people see vaccination, some people get to misinterpret the intention of governments and they'll just keep their kids off.
That is it. That's certain. And I think there's a correlation between cervical cancer and breast cancer. You know, it appears there are cases that move from cervical cancer to breast cancer. And so it's good. It's really commendable that government is, that some people are taking this initiative, and government is also supporting the initiative for this vaccination. But we also need to tackle the extent of pollution in our society. Some of these things, we can identify some of the root causes, and they need to be dealt with. Issues like diet, we need to really look at that. What do people consume? The way some of these things are produced, some of these, you know, food items we buy, the way they are produced and all that, in unhygienic, through unhygienic methods. Government needs to really come down on some of these things. And if we need to really have a definite policy on the issue of plastics, the use of plastics. You know, some countries have actually come down hard on the use of plastics.
Okay, Emeka, we need to talk to an expert that's joining us for more discussion on this. Is the founder and CEO of Medicare Cancer Foundation. That's Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, the immediate past First Lady of Kebbi State, is also a board member of the Union for International Cancer Control. Dr. Shinkafi Bagudu is also the chairperson of the First Ladies Against Cancer. Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Bagudu.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, yes.
It's a pleasure to listen to the group of you discussing cancer with such knowledge. And I thank you for always keeping the conversation up and amplifying it to Nigerians.
Okay, let me start by asking you, how are people reacting to these vaccines?
Well, I think we've had very reasonable, good reaction. A lot of girls who are the primary targets, aged 9 to 14, have been receiving it. The initial round is in 16 states, including the FCT and Kebbi State, and the feedback has been good. There are some states, surprisingly, where we have a higher level of education. They have higher routine immunization rates, where we're seeing lower than expected figures. I believe Lagos is one of them. This might be due to poor communication or awareness for now, but I'm sure when they get their act together, they will get on top of it, and the girls will come out and receive the vaccination. So the reception is good. It's a vaccine we've been fighting to bring into Nigeria for many years. It's an 18-year-old vaccine, and Nigeria is one of the last countries to receive it for various reasons. But it's here now, so we must not draw back on our efforts to ensure that we vaccinate all the girls that is possible. What you didn't mention is that with the HPV vaccine, it is possible to eliminate cervical cancer totally. It is the one cancer that can be eradicated and stopped, not just to zero level, lower levels, but to eradicate it. And the WHO has a program, an initiative, which is called the 90-70-90 initiative, whereby it is advised that 90% of girls are vaccinated, 70% of women of eligible age are screened at the appropriate time, and 90% of any detected lesions are treated early. If we employ these three measures, there are countries that have done it, including Rwanda right here in Africa. So if we employ these three measures, it is possible to eliminate cervical cancer.
Dr. Bagudu, Nigeria is said to have one of the highest mortality rates in the world from cancer. It is said that more than 72,000 Nigerians die in the hands of cancer each year. This is really frightening. What can we do better? And would you say that cancer is rising in our country currently, despite your best efforts and the efforts of others?
Well, I think, first of all, we must put it in context and understand that Nigeria is a country of 200 million, over 200 million people. So whatever our numbers, whether we're talking about the number of bottles of water that we consume or the number of cases of cancer, it's going to be an alarming number to anybody that is watching. Having said that, it's actually an underrepresentation of the actual amounts. If you consider that most of the data that we capture and it's not the actual data, they're statistical projections. We do not have functional cancer registries in every country, every state in the country. They just take from a few as a sample and do the statistics to arrive at that figure. We're expecting some new figures in the next year, and it's expected that it's going to go up. But we shouldn't despair. I know that the awareness is higher. Studies have shown that the level of awareness is higher. The fact that you're talking about it so often means that we are more aware. And the more aware we are of it, the more we'll see the figures rise until we can start to flatten the curve. In the United States, they have a 95% survival, 5-year survival rate for breast cancer. So, but we are at, like you rightly said, very dismal level. Over 70% of the cases that we see end up in death. But that is because they come in late stages 3 and 4. But when you talk to the oncologists, they will let you know that for the first time in the last couple of years, they are now seeing cancer cases in stage 1 and 2, which means people are getting screened. And I'm sure that the coming out results from the researches that are ongoing will show us that we are seeing earlier cases.
Tobacco use is blamed for a lot of cancer deaths, especially amongst men, and as well as alcohol intake. What can we do to discourage the consumption of these harmful beverages and cigarettes?
Well, there are many risk factors, of which the virus we're talking about is one. It's a sexually transmitted factor. But when you look at cancers generally, the risk factor, lifestyle, lack of exercise, age, sex, alcohol, dietary habits, tobacco are risk factors. With particular to those two vices, there are efforts ongoing. There are taxations by the government. A new taxation was recently introduced on sugar-sweetened beverages. It hasn't actually, they haven't started withdrawing it yet, or should I say deducting the tax yet, but it's a plan that the government has. This will serve as a deterrent because the prices of those products will go up, or for instance, the beverage companies will use less sugar in their products so that they will be taxed less. So this is one very good initiative that has worked in a lot of high-income countries. And what they do is they earmark the funds to non-communicable diseases. The taxation, the revenue that accrues from that taxation will go to non-communicable diseases. And that's why we must call on the government to keep to its word and ensure that those funds, that tax actually goes to treatment of these cases of cancer, diabetes, hypertension, obesity that is associated with the use of sugar-sweetened beverages. The same thing for alcohol, but the alcohol tax in Nigeria is actually very low, as well as that of tobacco. What I think that we really need to focus on is awareness and education, particularly through efforts of people like you. In our rural areas, the big tobacco companies are still able to target underage children. We don't have the right laws and we don't have the right level of enforcement. A child of 12 can buy a packet of cigarettes without anybody asking for any ID. Whatever your age, nobody asks you for ID to buy anything in Nigeria anyway. So if we try to enforce those kind of regulations, but if you remember, there was a time when we could buy any medicine in the pharmacy, but now more and more we're reaching a level of, should I say, progress whereby the pharmacist will tell you that you cannot buy this without a prescription. So if we get to that level with awareness, with the right pressure, we have the laws already, but they're not being implemented as they should be. And then media, targeting young people, the use of e-cigarettes, making them into colorful, flavors and colors. These are all efforts that are ongoing and that the producers do, and we don't counter them with enough. In the UK recently, and I believe New Zealand has also passed that law. They passed a law whereby any child born after a certain year, for the UK, I think it's next year coming, will never in his or her lifetime, be able to buy cigarettes. It's just the law, and that's it. So we need to also look at things that we can adapt in our own environment and make work for ourselves.
Yeah, Doctor, I would like you to enlighten us more about the relationship between cervical cancer and breast cancer. I'm using my mother's case as an example. She died in 2017, breast cancer. But I think it started from cervical cancer and later jumped to the breast. So this initiative is laudable. So I want you to really shed, light on the relationship so as to encourage as many girls as possible and parents to also allow their daughters to go through this vaccination.
Yeah. Well, the relationship is none beyond that. Number one, she's a woman and she's of that age that you can develop these two cancers. Secondly, once a person has had cancer, he or she has a higher chance of having another type of cancer, even without metastasis. So it means that cancer is actually a disease that is caused by an interplay between the genetics and the immune system and some environmental factors. So you will see that some people will smoke all their lives, be exposed to the same toxins, and they will never develop cancer, whereas others do. So it means that there's something in their genes that makes them, or in the way their genomic makeup is made up, that makes them more susceptible and vulnerable to getting cancer. Cancer is just an abnormality of cell division. Instead of being controlled, the cells divide in an uncontrollable manner, and there is no control. So that makes it become either malignant or benign, and it's the malignant one that we worry about. So when a woman has had these two cancers, in all likelihood, if one were to look into her genes, her genomic makeup, then you will find that there's something there. And for such women, there are tests available which we advise their daughters to have, and I hope your sisters are listening if you have any. There are some women that are more susceptible to having this cancer. It's called the BRCA1 or 2 gene. If they carry that gene, then they are more likely to have ovarian cancer and some other cancers. And there's been a lot of research by very highly experienced people, including Nigerian Professor Fumilayo Olopade, who was once an advisor to President Obama. And these are the kind of people that are carrying out research all over the world about such things. The test is available in Nigeria. And if you do the test and it's shown that this woman is likely to have cervical cancer, is carrying that gene of having the BRCA gene, then some of them even have voluntary mastectomy. That is, they take off the breast, they take off the ovaries, they take out everything. Angelina Jolie, the very popular actress, is one such person. She's cleared every organ because she tested positive, all those reproductive organs I mentioned anyway, because she tested positive to that gene.
I'm very concerned about the level of awareness. You talked about areas like Lagos, places like Lagos, the awareness is so low. What are you doing to make sure we step up, the consciousness? Because a lot of people don't know about what we are talking here.
Yes, so this is where the work that civil society does is very important. The government has provided the vaccine. We're very happy. We celebrated last week the coming of the HPV vaccine to Nigeria. But the work has actually really just begun. Within that week, a lot of misinformation is flying around. It does this, it does that. People have said that it might cause infertility. I have 2 daughters, and they both received the vaccine, and my elder daughter just had a baby. The Minister of Health himself, Professor Pate, attested to the fact that his 4 daughters have had the vaccine, and we've not seen it harm them in any way. So it's about pushing the positive so that it can be louder than the negative. Yes, as a people, we're susceptible to superstitious beliefs and some rumor type thing, and with the advent of social media, the negative tends to fly faster. So we work with the civil society organizations. As you mentioned, I chair the First Ladies Against Cancer Initiative of Nigeria, which is actually a group of us, of former and current First Ladies, like myself, former, and the current ones. We have people like the current First Lady of Kwara, Katsina, and so on. There are about 18 of us that are involved in cancer control. And what we do is we work in our various states to make sure that the message through our NGOs, it's not through government, it's not funded by government. So we work through our NGOs to ensure that the messages are passed on. And thankfully, the authorities also work with us. So you will find agencies like NPHCDA that is in charge, that's the National Primary Healthcare Agency of Nigeria, that is charged with the responsibility of delivering vaccines, including this HPV vaccine, engages FLAC as a body. So we're like there, we help them take the message to the states. Whatever people say, whether we like it or not, First Ladies do have a loud platform that they can use. You mentioned my sister, Her Excellency Betty Akeredolu from Ondo State. She's also a member of FLAC, and she's doing a lot of work, both as a FLAC member and individually, in creating awareness and telling our people. We just had one of the largest, I think we call it actually the largest cancer walk in Nigeria yesterday in Abuja, and we employ the use of influencers, celebrities, so that people come out. We went to National Hospital to do a patient support, and the CMD walked in, I walked in, nobody knew us, but we went with Alex Okubo, one of the Nollywood stars, and the women, these are cancer patients, they all started jumping and shouting, and they were very happy. So whatever message those kind of people give to them, they take it. They're happy, they listen, they're very happy, they go home in a good mood. Oh, I saw this, I saw that. So those are the kind of measures that we employ and we try. Not a high number of our people are educated, not a high number have access to TV like we're doing now, but a very high proportion listen to the radio. So that's another good means that we always employ in our local dialects.
Doctor, I went to Luth to shoot a documentary recently, and it was a really sobering experience for me when I was shown a cancer ward for kids. It ruined my day completely because I didn't know that kids that young could actually be suffering from cancer. What really triggers cancer in kids as young as 9 years, 10 years, or even younger than that? What could be the problem? What's going on?
Yes, I heard you say that the commonest cancer in children are leukemias and lymphomas. And I mentioned, I also went on a visit to National Hospital on Friday, which is our own Luth in Abuja, and I was moved as well. I'm a pediatrician trained, but what I saw on that ward, honestly, I was really, really moved. I saw 9-month-old children, a baby with cancer of it's not even one of the common ones, of the bladder. There was another one with cancer of the ovaries, exactly, and she presented with a vaginal protrusion. So, number one, that is moving. Number two, I was highly impressed by the acumen of the medical doctors that made that diagnosis. The thing about cancer in children is that it is very difficult to diagnose. And it's no one's fault but our fault as medical practitioners. It is highly curable. The leukemias and lymphomas that I mentioned, it has a 95% cure rate from 70% and above with the right medication, which we have and is available, but you have to give it to them. Unfortunately, when they present, children, they don't talk. They present with fever, lethargy, weight loss, and most of the time they're given repeated treatments for fever, malaria infection, and until it becomes catastrophic before people start to think of cancer. So late detection or no detection at all and lack of awareness amongst the healthcare professional is one of the major factors that makes the cure rate of cancer in children in low middle income countries like ours in the region of 20 to 25%. Your question was actually what causes it. Again, it's a factor of the immune system, and I don't want to say inherited, but in children it's not usually born out of environmental toxin or a virus. There are some that have been associated with some virus in like Epstein-Barr virus, EBV, in areas, malaria endemic areas. So you see a lot of Burkitt's lymphoma, which is when you see, sometimes you see them on the streets going around with huge lumps. And that is a cancer that is associated with us. But that's a virus. But mostly it is from the immune and genetic system, and they are born with it in a way. Like the baby of 9 months with a vaginal protrusion and turned out to be ovarian cancer. They would have thought that, oh, maybe it's some birth defect or so. But they did the right investigations and stuck to it. Anywhere in the world, these are not easy things to diagnose at that age. So I want to use this opportunity to shout out to the doctors that did that and the whole team, the whole oncology team.
All right, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Zainab Shinkafi-Bagudu, the founder and the CEO of Medicard Cancer Center Foundation. I want to thank you for the enlightenment. Jide, we have to start this campaign in our families. This is tough.
Even on social media.
I want to thank you. I'm sure we invite you more so that you enlighten us.
You'll be back
Like on one of our other programs. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma. Cancer, a 9-month-old baby.
So sad. So sad.
Ovarian cancer for a 9-month-old baby. It's terrible.
I have to tell our people to go all out since the vaccination is available now. Just tell your girls.
Take advantage.
Let's go to the next service center and let's stop disinformation or any kind of.
It's not helpful. It's not helpful to discourage people from taking life-saving vaccines.
Vaccination. I'm telling you. Well, Emeka Madunagu, I want to thank you
very much
for your contribution and the master himself, Papa Jide Kolade Utitoju. Thank you. And that's a wrap for this edition of Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of Journalist Hangout by 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11:30 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzuwakun. See you tomorrow, and God bless Nigeria.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best reporters on the field,
taking you through as it happens.
It's fast-paced, hard-hitting,
with investigations that matter.
bringing in news that affects your life.
With sport, entertainment, and business news, so you don't miss a thing.
Experience resourceful coverage with depth
Every night.
I wish to welcome you all to the Global Technology Africa Summit.
Technology itself is a massive driver of access to services that, frankly, most of the governments in Africa can't build infrastructure fast enough to meet.
We have to be a lot more conscious of data storage, data ownership, and things like that.
Talent is the human component of technology.
Basically, the Startup Act is a framework and an umbrella. And I think each state needs to look at what exists, how do we capitalize on what the Startup Act is, and where are our own gaps.
The platform for consumption of entertainment content is translating from linear TV or traditional TV as we know it to the screens of those mobile devices.
We're working with NITA to bring them
to the U.S. to talk about how we work together on this new challenge of AI.
We have to create a new community.
And we look forward to having you in GTA come November. Thank you very much.
A deadly syndicate. An overdue vengeance. A sacrifice of blood. A coveted crown. A self-proclaimed king.
Have you had a hard time with taxes and understanding tax administration in Lagos State and the complex nature of Nigerian tax law? Do you know what agency or tier of government collects the various types of taxes? Have you ever found yourself asking any of these questions? Join us for your favorite program, The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
You and Your Health is brought to you by Doctors Save a Life Foundation.
Far beyond witches and wizards is the root cause of health problem of many in Africa.